homebrewers, and welcome to my channel. So in a previous video, which the card is up there, I made an experimental yeast nutrient using yeast as my basis to make the nutrient. Now this is it here. It's been in my fridge. I've taken most of the yeast off and we're left with this sort of opaque liquid. Now you can just add sultanas and raisins into it, but I am aiming to try and make a neutral sugar wash that ferments to dryness. So I need to do an experiment to compare how it works. So that's what we're going to be doing. So because this is an experiment testing out my yeast nutrient, I need something to compare it to because, well, otherwise it's not a fair test. So I have got 3 2-litre water bottles which are currently sterilizing using bleach. And yeah, so this one, or any one of them, is just going to be sugar and bread yeast. Nothing else added in, which is technically a Finnish recipe for kilju. Hope I got the pronunciation right. Test number 2, which is going to be in here at the same time, is going to be my experimental yeast nutrient, and also my bread yeast, to see if this ferments better than just sugar and water and yeast on its own. Then the third one, because, well, you know, just for a comparison, is actually going to be yeast nutrient. It's fairly straightforward. Now because I am using bread yeast and I want to try and get it to basically finish as close as possible to dry, I'm only going to be adding 200 grams of sugar to this, which is basically 100 grams per litre, so it's somewhere around this 6-ish% mark. I've pre-measured out using my quite accurate scales 200 grams of sugar, which is over there, because to save time. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to rinse these out and we're going to get started. So these have all been rinsed out now, as you can tell. Used warm water as well. They no longer smell of bleach, so they're good to go. So I've got my permanent marker and I'm just going to label these up so we know what the difference is. So I've got a 1, gotta love that. Number 2. And number 3, since these are basically going to look the same. Basically. So, let's start. Everything I've got is sterilized. My side's been sterilized. My funnel has been sterilized. You know, it's all been sterilized. It's a pain to dry something. Hot water works rather well. So, for number 1, in goes our pre-measured 200 grams of sugar. In we go. Looking good. I'll add in my next 200 grams and you get the idea. I will see you once I have added the sugar in. For each one has approximately 200 grams of sugar to within a gram. I was actually pretty good this time. So, number 1 doesn't need anything apart from the bread yeast. Number 2 is going to have a homemade yeast nutrient in it, so just give it a swirl. Pour this, actually, bad plan. Going to add this on first. I'm doing number 3 first, and I'm adding in my dry stuff, which is my yeast nutrient. So I only need, in theory, half a teaspoon-ish. In that goes. Now I can go back to number 2 and add in my wet liquid because we're done with the funnel. And this is our homemade yeast nutrient. Since there's no experiment that's been done on this, there's no knowing how good or bad it is. So there we go. Now what I need to do is basically add the water to the rest of the way up. So I'm going to do that and then I'm going to shake the hell out of these. Awesome. So these have all been mixed up now, and as you can tell, instantly you can tell which one is the one that has the homemade yeast nutrient in it. So yeah, gonna be interesting. So 1 and 3, clear, and number 2, which is the homemade one, looks a lot like lemonade. So I'm just gonna grab the hydrometer just to double check, but it should be somewhere around the 6% mark, just to keep it even as a test. So I've got my hydrometer, and it's sterilized. And yeah, I'm going to test now for, funny enough, to make sure it's about the right. So I'm not going to do it in 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to do 1, 3 and then 2, because I can rinse the one in between those two. Don't need to worry about this one. So in goes this bad boy. It's saying it's just over 6%, which is about right. Yeah. So 1.040 for those people interested. So let's pop this one in here. And again, this is reading just over the 6% mark, so 1.040 again. So I'm just going to rinse this off so it doesn't give me anomalous results. So I'll be right back. And now for the last one. So this bad boy goes. Just give it a minute to decide. And again, it is 1.040, so they're all pretty damn even, which is nice. Put that there now. So the only thing we've really got to do now is add our yeast. Lovely, lovely. So I'm going to be adding half a tablespoon of baker's yeast, just easy bake bread yeast, to each one of these to keep it even, so it's all pretty much the same. That's what we're aiming for. So here we go. Number one. Put the lid on, leave it loose. Number two. Finger funnel. If I can get the lid on, leave it loose. And the last one, pretty even, and then in it goes. And again, I'm going to put the lid on and leave it loose. So this test should show us if this yeast nutrient that I've made basically has any validity whatsoever. It's actually based upon research that has been done on papers, and also yeast nutrient. A lot of branded yeast nutrients actually contain bits of yeast in it, dead yeast obviously, because the yeast cannibalizes it to keep going, stay alive. So that is the plan. So number one, we have made the Finnish kilju, which is just yeast and sugar and water. I don't expect this to ferment to dryness, even though it's only 6% potential alcohol. This one I am expecting to do better. I don't know if it's going to ferment to dryness, but we will see. This one, on the other hand, I'm expecting it to go to dryness, even though I'm using bread yeast, mainly because it's yeast nutrient, so just keep it all even. So I'm going to put these out the way, and I'm going to give it, I don't know, let's say 2 weeks, and we're going to come back, I'm going to test it with the hydrometer again, to see the results. So, I really hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Experiments. We like experiments. Don't forget to comment, rate, like, share, and of course subscribe. And watch the other videos. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.